There's
Hello.
Kayla. What's up?
What's going on?
Hey, Katie. Anti-inflammatory. Hey, Adina. What's going on? So, I have got the infamous
Ooh.
Bicurious Kayla, Kayla
Very
Osterhoff,
infamous.
uh, here with my dog.
Hey
What's up,
guys.
Al? Yeah, cool. We're getting some good people on. So, it's COVID-19 insanity right now.
Yes, it
And
is.
then I had other things planned for this coming week. I had a lot of travel planned. I mean, a lot of travel. I was supposed to go to Tampa to spend a day with JJ Virgin on some branding, then go to Puerto Rico for a mastermind. Then I had a plant medicine journey coming up. Then I was going to do Upgrade Labs in Beverly Hills. Then I was going to do PaleoFX and speak at that. And everything's been thrown out the window. So,
Yeah, I had some of those plans with you and I was looking
yeah.
forward to it. We're still gonna
And
hang out though.
yes.
Yeah.
And then, my content is, because everyone is like, it just feels wrong if we just focus on, keto or whatever, supplements or whatever it is. And people just want to talk about this right now. So I wanted to dig into this. And hopefully, one, let's talk about some of the myths, talk about the reality, and put this in perspective. And then, also I can talk about some immune system hacks that we can do and some things that make sense. But one of the reasons I think you're amazing out of the 100 reasons that you're amazing is that you have experience at the CDC. And I actually want you to give a little bit of your, the bio-curious resume, if you will.
Sure. So I actually just retired from CDC, which is exciting. I loved my work at CDC. It was amazing. I worked in global public health. Similar to Shawn, I have a master's in public health. And I've been working in that capacity at CDC for the past 6 years. And now I am focusing on my health optimization medicine and mind-body medicine practice. And that is what I'm doing in my doctoral program currently. And I have a BioCurious podcast that talks about all kinds of biohacking fun. Some of you may have already heard some episodes. If not, definitely check that out. Shawn has been, actually, he's my only two-time guest on the BioCurious podcast. So he has that, which is awesome. And he's amazing. And we met through Instagram, when Instagram friends become real friends. That's
Yeah.
our story. And
Yeah.
now we're best buds and we, travel around the world and hang out and do biohacking cool stuff. And that is
Yeah.
how we met. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was last September when we did both the Iceland trip, the
Hmm.
biohacking retreat that was like a couple weeks, and then we also did Health Optimization Summit in London,
Yes.
which was amazing. So yeah.
So fun.
Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about. Tell me from your perspective. I mean, you have a unique perspective, one being a biohacker like me, but two, like you live in Atlanta and have worked directly for the CDC and
Yeah.
have worked on viruses and done, write-ups and, pulled stats and all that kind of stuff. So like from your perspective, how does COVID-19 compare to pneumonia or, to influenza?
Hmm.
And how does it compare to, Ebola and some of these other things that, we've SARS, MERS that are also coronaviruses? I mean,
Yeah.
give us a little breakdown of that from your perspective.
Yeah, so SARS and MERS are also coronavirus. This virus is a coronavirus. So coronavirus is not new. We've had them before. It's just that this one is a new, or you might have heard the word novel virus, meaning that it didn't currently exist, at least in the human population before. The vector for it was a bat or bats, which is the case for a lot of infectious diseases. Ebola also originated from bats, and I believe SARS as well. And so it's similar to SARS and MERS, however, because it's a coronavirus, but it's not quite as deadly as SARS and MERS. And we've seen outbreaks of both of them before, but we were able to get them under control because we had seen these things before, and we had vaccines and we had tools. This time, we have to start kind of from scratch because this is a brand new virus that we don't have any vaccines for. However, it's a lot less severe in the majority of cases than SARS and MERS for sure, but it's also a lot less severe than the flu. So right now, I'm much more concerned about getting the flu than I am about getting coronavirus for myself. However, immune compromised folks should be practicing social distancing, washing your hands, very good hygiene, boost your immune system, eat healthy food, get sunlight, do anything that can boost your immune system, and also just avoid crowds and avoid places where you might avoid the hospital if you can, because that's where, sick people are. The likelihood of having a severe case right now, total in the world, severe cases are only about 16%. And then the current mortality rate, meaning people who have died, which is, these at-risk populations that we're talking about, the very elderly, the very frail, the very sick, people with severe autoimmune disorders are at higher risk. So those folks should be kind of social distancing, self-quarantining in a way. But healthy people, I mean, you and I may have it right now or may already had it and got over it. Most people walking around are going to be asymptomatic, meaning that they're not going to show any symptoms at all. The only risk and the reason why we're seeing big events canceled and the reasons why we're seeing schools canceled, right, or moved to at home right now is because the risk is for somebody like us who we could be carrying the virus and it could be infectious, and it may not affect us or anyone healthy that we come in contact with, which is the majority of people out there, but we wouldn't want to bring this into a nursing home, for instance. We wouldn't want to bring this into a hospital ward that's dealing with people who are chronically or very severely ill. So that's kind of the rundown of that.
The thing is, to your point, that it seems like influenza is of higher risk to me, except for maybe those that, like you're saying, are immunocompromised, have respiratory health issues, or elderly, or all three.
Yeah.
But by and large, for most of us that are healthy, that are just running around out there, the flu risk is so much greater in terms of exposure, in terms of mortality, and all those things. The mortality rates being higher are skewed because of these people that are elderly, that are immunocompromised, that have respiratory health issues. And if we were to look at healthy populations, especially under 19, it seems like they're impervious. It's crazy to me how much panic there is around this. And I understand precaution, like you're saying, in groups and, where there's large exposure, but it feels like it's a little irrational with the toilet paper being sold out, the meat at the grocery store.
Toilet paper.
I just don't understand the panic right now, the irrationality. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Mm-hmm. So even if you go on CDC's website right now, if you go on to like what to do if you show signs or symptoms, what to do to prepare, they have a preparedness checklist. If you look through that checklist, nowhere on there does it say buy toilet paper or food or supplies whatsoever. What it tells you is you should wash your hands. What it tells you is if you are showing any symptoms, the responsible thing to do is you're very, 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 very likely to be totally fine and probably not even that sick. However, it's your social responsibility to not expose other people, just in case there is somebody who is immune compromised. So,
right. And
yeah.
Go ahead.
The socially responsible thing is to kind of self-quarantine, which doesn't mean like you have to stay bunkered down in your house and you're locked down and you have to get supplies for 5 months. Like, that's not what it means. You can still send your wife or husband or whoever to the store to get whatever you need. You know, it's going to run its course and it's going to follow a same or very similar Epicurve. So for those who don't know what that is, it's Epicurve is epidemiology curve that shows you the spread of or like the course of an infectious disease. So for the Epicurve for this virus is going to look the same as the Epicurve for any virus, like flu or even SARS, MERS, whatever. Even though SARS and MERS have a way higher mortality rate. This is going to follow the very similar epicurve as the flu and even a lesser mortality rate than the traditional flu. But the difference is that so if you look at epicurve on one axis, you have number of cases, right? And then on the other axis, you have time. And so the difference with this epicurve, you're still going to see a bell curve like this. So it's going to, you know, we're on the upslope now, we're going to see some peak at some point, and then we'll go back down the downslope. And the public health interventions right now to like shut down schools and do social distancing and all that stuff is to try to flatten out the epicurve faster. So what you want to do is, you know, once we get down to the other side of the epicurve and we see the cases come down and that tail start to flatten out, we're at a lot less risk at that point, and a lot of these interventions will just kind of fall off. But naturally, this is going to follow a regular epicurve. No matter what we do, if we did nothing, it will eventually clear itself up over time. The only difference is that the timeline is going to be a little longer because the incubation period for this coronavirus is a lot longer than the incubation period for the traditional flu. And we also don't know exactly how long afterwards people are infectious for. So that could draw out the timeline a little bit longer as well.
Yeah, and that's been the biggest problem in creating a lot of the confusion, and certainly with people feeling healthy that are traveling, even if they feel like slightly feverish, it's hard to tell when you're traveling, like, you know, and you're changing environments, going from hot to cold, jumping in, you know, Ubers and waiting in an airport. But we're getting people like, I think the biggest problem right now is we're getting so many people like that are globally transient, like me, that, you know, just hop all over the world. And that can be a huge problem, you know, especially when you're in a germ tube, so to speak, of an airplane. Yeah. And it seems like that's like very logical, is to reduce flights and certainly reduce international travel and kind of quarantine people to their countries. I think that makes sense. Yeah. But your thoughts on, so we talked about hand washing. You need to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. I think it's like singing the happy birthday song or like the ABC song or whatever, like you can do in your head. And by the way, for the first time ever in my life, you know, there's like sometimes lines for a urinal, lines for this or that, but not usually lines to wash your hands. Like, you know, I was at the airport and there was 3 men ahead of me at a sink to wash their hands. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Yeah. This is kind of cool. Like maybe this is a good thing from here on out. We have better hygiene.
So maybe this helps just to give people an idea about, you know, based on what I know, I'm not worried about getting coronavirus myself. I'm also not very worried about my loved ones. You know, I've given them the information that they need. I'm making sure they're boosting their immune system. That way, even if they do get coronavirus, they're going to get well faster or maybe not even have symptoms. And so I'm not really worried about the virus and transmission of the virus, like personally or with people that I know, so much as I am worried about the public health impact of the widespread panic and fear. So on one side of the coin, panic and fear they will make your immune system tank. If you're very stressed out, your immune system is going to take a major hit, which increases your risk. Okay, so you really want to take care of your stress levels, number one. Right. On the flip side of the coin, so just to give you an idea. So this week I went out, did my normal thing. I went to the grocery store. I went out to restaurants. I had family members in from California. They traveled here. I was not worried about them traveling. That answers some of the questions that are being asked. I still told them, come on out, wash your hands, you know, be responsible. And if somebody is like hacking along next to you, you know, try to avoid that. Or even you can offer them, hey, would you mind wearing a face mask just to protect me from your whatever you have going on, if it's a cold or whatever. That's always something you could try. If you do have to be, like, for instance, sitting right next to them on a plane, you could ask them if they could please wear a face mask to protect you. If you wear a face mask, it's not going to protect spread from somebody else to you. If you're a healthy person, there's no need to wear a face mask. So that's one myth that we can dispel.
Right.
But I went about my normal day, and actually I was very pleased because in Atlanta, you know, there's this cool area. The sun came out finally, and there's this cool area called the Beltline. And I wanted to take my guests who were here visiting down to the Beltline to check it out. So we went down there, and normally it's a nightmare. It's a zoo. There's just like so many people. There was so little people. It was very enjoyable. You know, and I went outside, got my natural vitamin D from the sun, which boosts my immune system. I also had some fun socially, which is really good for your immune system as well, to be in a positive mood around positive people. So, Shawn, what did you do this week? Just to give people an example.
Yeah, no, exactly. I love what you're saying because, you know, I've been hanging out with Tim Gray, my buddy.
Hey,
here.
Tim.
And we were down in Austin, and we went to an internet marketing party in Austin, and JP Sears was there, and Keith Norris, and some really cool people. And it, like you're saying, like, you know, I had a few drinks, and I had like some laughs and a lot of hugs, and, you know, I wasn't social distancing, but it was nice. It was actually very energizing to just relax despite kind of the paranoia. And then Tim and I, you know, drove back from Austin to Dallas, which is about a 3.5 hour drive, got to talk, and then been hanging out with Kirsten and Tim here. I played volleyball today outside. Nice. And it was just, it's been nice. And even when, like, to your point, like when I was flying, I've probably been to 8 different airports in the last week. They've been so down that it's been nice, like probably 80% down, 80%. Like it's like a ghost town in there. So, you know, it's just more comfortable kind of making your way around the airport. You know, it's almost like the 2 a.m. type thing, like when it's the afternoon. Mm-hmm. And it's, and like you're saying, it's actually been pleasurable to me this past week, just having like less chaos, if you will. Mm-hmm. But I do worry, like you're saying, like more of the, you know, when you watch these zombie apocalypse type movies, like it's not the zombies, it's the people. It's the people that go irrational with other people. Yeah. And I worry about, you know, if I sneeze or I cough, you know, because of allergies, because it's March, you know, whatever. You know, is someone going to stab or shoot me? You know, it's like, how crazy does it get? Like how, like amped up and fearful do people get? And like that's one thing I, you know, want to do in this live is like try and bring some rationality to this. That I mean, if we were to look at the numbers, I don't know where exactly it's at today, but you know, at 3,000, 4,000, whatever cases it is in the U.S. If you compare that to coronary heart
that many
disease,
cases. It's only 1,600 in the U.S.
Okay, well there you go. So coronary heart disease, I might have read like a projection because like I think we don't have as good a testing as probably needed yet. But regardless, let's say crazy number. Let's say it's even 10,000. If you compare that to like suicides, coronary heart disease, cancer, car accidents, I mean, it's just crazy, like the way we're getting crazy, or compared to influenza. And just how many people die every year and get that, and we don't panic and go crazy like every year with influenza. And to be honest, the vaccine doesn't really work that great typically a lot of years. And it's mind-blowing to me like how caught up people are in corona, and that like people are like clearing shelves. And I heard, you know, someone was telling me about this this video they saw of like a janitor or something at a school got diagnosed with having corona, the COVID-19, and everyone pulled their kids out of the school, and there's like a video of this woman Lysoling her kid head to toe and then putting the kid in garbage bags.
I think that is going to risk your child's health more, spraying a bunch of toxic crap all over their body. Please don't do that. Nobody do that. That's not a good idea. So the thing that is going to cause more deaths, is going to increase the risk of people's health, is panic, hysteria, not following instructions. So in the US, we do have pandemic flu plans. Actually, globally, we've been planning for pandemic flu for about 30 years. We knew it was going to happen. We just didn't know when and where. Here it is, essentially. The plans for pandemic flu will work for coronavirus because it's so similar. So there are plans in place, and when we get to a point where we are going to have areas that are designated for treatment, if, for instance, we get a vaccine, or if we figure out what a treatment is, or if it spreads a lot more widely through the community, we may set up little checkpoints where you can go and get your vitals done, and you can get your advice on, you know, regular flu stuff, stay hydrated, eat healthy food, the normal flu advice. You know, there is no good treatment for flu either. There's not going to be a good treatment for this. So when that happens, what will happen, and this is, I worked on the pandemic flu plans for Reno, Nevada, where I'm originally from. So what will happen is your public health department locally will announce, hey, we've got these checkpoints. These are all the locations to go and get treatment. And depending on how much of the population is going to need this, we'll do it in an orderly manner where it can be done within 3 days if it's done without hysteria and people overloading the public health system. So if people don't listen, so for instance, they'll say, okay, on day one, so there'll be 3 days. On day one, we're going to have, you know, A through S come in or something, you know, whatever. It'll be some based on your last name or based on your birth date or whatever. We must listen to those instructions to avoid mass hysteria and overloading the public health system. The big risk here, and the thing that will kill a lot of people, is if we get hysterical, we run to the hospital, we overload the hospitals, we overtax the hospital staff, we use up all their services, and then they're unable to take care of people who are actually critically ill and need treatment. So those people will die because they aren't going to be able to get care and access as they need to because of the hysteria of people who have a sneeze or a cough and they run to the hospital. So the best thing to do is, CDC's website has very clear instructions. If you have any signs or symptoms, exactly what to do. If it becomes a case where we will basically employ the pan flu plans across the US, all the information will be given to you with clear instructions, and we have to follow those instructions.
Yeah. A couple quick definitions that I know of. So like pandemic, pan means all. Just like pantheism means all religions, kind of like spokes on a hub, right? Like on a wheel. Pan, and then epidemic is like a health crisis. So it's like a large scale, global scale health crisis. COVID, I saw some people misspelling it like COVID. It's COVID, like corona virus disease. And then 19 is the strain, is this the specific one that's out right now. And like you said, there's other COVIDs like SARS and MERS and et cetera. So let me see, there's some questions. How long do you think this will last? I mean, supposedly as weather warms up, that's supposed to really work in our favor. So what are your thoughts?
The Lancet actually published a really good paper on this, talking about some modeling and what could happen with the epicurve, what a traditional epicurve looks like, and then what could happen with this one. And it is skewed based on community panic. So community panic can make this worse and make this last longer. But if we're able to employ the public health interventions and people listen and they do what they're supposed to do, and they also take care of themselves and take personal responsibility, meaning wash your hands. If you have symptoms, stay home. It's our responsibility to protect ourselves and other people. It's not other people's responsibility to protect us. So you can only control yourself. So do the right thing for yourself and for other people. If all goes well, the warm weather will help to slow this down. You know, I can't say because I'm not a statistician and I haven't done the modeling myself. But you know, it will eventually clear up on its own. Check out the Lancet paper. I can send it also to Shawn, the link, and he could put it in his stories if you guys want to read up on that. And that gives you a little idea about what could happen, how long this might last, and give you a little more information.
Yeah, and I would say most likely you would think that by May or June or so, like that we should be hopefully past this, but you know, obviously we'll see.
I hope so. Yeah.
But let's see what else. What about fasting? I know that fasting there's actually an article I was reading specifically about this. Fasting can enhance the immune system in a number of ways, but to your point, there's the idea of allostatic load and how much stress are you under, and it could add additional stress if you're already stressed.
Yeah.
So you have to reduce your stress load. You have to, because it's been shown that just the fear component of this could lower your immune system by as much as 50%. So there's my kitty and my dog. So not being stressed out is important, like you're saying. And, you know, having a rational approach to this and just knowing that, you know, this is similar to the flu and we need to take precautions and, you know, be careful if you have elderly ones around you and not visit them in the nursing home, like you said, not to spend a lot of time in a hospital that's unnecessary, not to, if you're immunocompromised or you're on immune suppression drugs, like if you have herpes or, you know, whatever it is, like different conditions where you might be on various drugs that could leave you immunocompromised or you have autoimmune system conditions. And then, respiratory issues. If you have emphysema, if you're a smoker, if you know, whatever. One of the best things that we can do is eat healthy, you know, avoid sugar, think happy thoughts, de-stress, get great sleep, hydrate. I know one of the things that may not be obvious to people is a moistened respiratory tract.
We just got a question about that. Asking, are humidifiers helpful?
Okay, I'll let you take that.
Absolutely, because they keep your mucus, especially, I would say if you're in a dry climate. So where I'm originally from is the high desert, Reno, Nevada, humidity is 0. Humidifiers are really important to help support your immune system because you want to keep all of the mucous membranes moist. So if you wake up in the night and your mouth is really dry, that's probably a good sign that you would benefit from having a humidifier. If your nose gets really dry, you get bloody noses, that's a good sign that a humidifier would benefit you. I'm in Georgia, so I probably don't need one. It's pretty humid
but
here.
Salt Lake City, where I just was, like, you know, super dry.
Yeah.
And, you know, I like to use sometimes the saline rinse, like the nasal rinse, and that could be helpful. And like you said, a humidifier is something to think about, especially like if, like sometimes in your house, just the HVAC like can, you know, kind of dry you out. So that's something to think about. Like, so let's go into immune system boosting.
Yes.
You know, like we're so worried about this kind of attack on us, and maybe we should have a counterattack, and we should do this certainly every winter when there's all kinds of stuff going around, and maybe even through the spring when there's still some stuff going around and allergies and all kinds of stuff. So I know some things on my side, like being a supplement guy for sure. Some of my favorite supplements, L-Lysine is a ketogenic amino acid, but it boosts the immune system. It's kind of counter to arginine. And people might have seen it with things like cold sores, and it helps with stuff like that. So L-Lysine is very cheap, very effective. It's helped me with my autoimmune stuff a number of times when I feel myself tanking. One of my other favorite compounds is called AHCC, and it comes from reishi and shiitake mushrooms, and it's an immune system builder. It has some great data with cancer and other autoimmune issues, and it's a little on the expensive side, but if you feel yourself, again, kind of tanking, I reach for this, and it really helps pull me out. I like liposomal vitamin C and glutathione. Glutathione the master antioxidant. Vitamin C, people obviously know very well. It helps not only as an antioxidant, but also collagen production and a number of things.
Can you explain for folks why liposomal is better, especially for glutathione?
Yeah, glutathione tends to be, it's a tripeptide. So that means it's 3 amino acids, and it gets easily hydrolyzed and broken down into those amino acid components. And to some degree, there's some data that it can be reassembled and potentially boost glutathione levels, but it's not very effective that way. I would actually say that taking N-acetylcysteine is probably better at boosting glutathione than just taking glutathione.
Right.
But liposomal seems to, it's a liposome actually protects it. It's like a micelle that protects the compound. And like with vitamin C, like there's kind of a GI limit, a gastrointestinal limit that you just can't really exceed without, you know, having GI distress. And so liposomal form, again, kind of allows you to supersede these physiologic levels or limits. And it's more akin to, it's the closest thing we can do to besides an IV. It's the most superior bioavailable form. I would say to do that. And then there's cat's claw, unadagato is known very well. Elderberry is known well. Colloidal silver is very interesting historically for being antibacterial, antiviral, along with garlic, which is where like that whole, like, I think, you know, this interesting history of like bloodborne pathogens and vampires. Like if you actually study like that history with like vampires and, you know, wearing the clove of, you know, garlic, and like during the Black Plague, they use clove and garlic too. And, but also they use silver bullets and stuff like that, you know, this lore and mythology. I think that's where actually a lot of that comes from is garlic and silver are kind of long known for their immune system boosting effects. And yes, you can swallow colloidal silver.
And somebody asked, are all of these supplements, are they safe for children to take as well?
Yeah, it would just be, you know, I have to give the disclaimer of check with your doctor, so on and so on. But yes, I mean, these are supplements that are that are healthy for all humans. It's just dose dependent, you know, like,
Yeah.
so you would, I mean, you just think of like body surface area or, you know, something like that. And, you know, you can use weight, you can use body surface area. But essentially, if, you know, your kid is 35 pounds and, you know, a normal person is whatever, 160 pounds, you know, you just do the math.
Yeah.
So that's typically what it is. But those are some, oregano oil is another favorite of mine that's really good. So those are, yeah, some good immune system boosters. Colostrum is excellent. If you get a really good colostrum, there's a lot of bunk ones out there. That's one I'd be careful with, but there's some good ones. But, you know, going back to what you were talking about, I think are some of the most important things is just, you know, happiness and laughter and, you know, watch a funny movie. Like, stop focusing on, don't focus on politics right now.
Turn off
you
the
know,
news.
Donald Trump is polarizing to you, or, you know, COVID-19 news, and, you know, do not get caught up in all this stuff. Yeah, just certainly educate yourself, and hopefully this is educational, but try and be rational and try and have some fun. Like, you know, if your family is all kind of stuck in the house together, watch a good Netflix movie and pick a funny movie, you know, just have some laughs, have some healthy food, hydrate, get plenty of sleep, get some sunshine, and, you know, it's, you know, let's be rational.
Absolutely.
And sorry, is that diffusing of, you could do that with the oil of oregano, but you can take it orally too. There's some really good supplements for that. I am not a fan of fruit juices typically because that's a lot of concentrated sugar. Stay calm and wash your hands. I agree with that. So let's see, what else do you have for us, Kayla? Like, what's up? Like, I want to know, like, from you actually, like, what's going on with you, and before we wrap up, like, what's in the world of Kayla Osterhoff, and what do we expect from you coming up? You've been doing the Bicurious podcast. That's been killing it. I know, speaking engagements, and you did step away from the CDC, and you are doing more on social and interviewing amazing people and traveling more. So what's coming up this year for you?
Yeah, unfortunately, like you, a few of my speaking engagements got canceled. One of our events is going to have to be rescheduled. Unfortunately, it was an event of about 50 people here in Atlanta. So we're being responsible, and we're going to go ahead and reschedule that, which is a bummer, but it's okay. It'll still happen. I'm also working with the Mercedes-Benz Stadium right now. I'm doing their corporate wellness, which is super exciting.
Nice.
That's really fun. I've been doing a lot of health optimization coaching. So that's just working one-on-one with a few folks. And I have some exciting courses in the works that will be coming out and available for people. But yeah, the podcast is one of my favorite things because it's my favorite way to learn from awesome people like Shawn, and I've been very lucky to have just some amazing guests on global leaders in health and wellness that are just doing some really interesting things. So continuing my research into how to optimize everything and do it in a way that's really holistic. So the way that I practice biohacking is very holistic. It's not super focused on tech and really expensive things. It's more of lifestyle, behavioral factors, and
Totally
a lot
agree.
of a lot of what we're talking about here, I would definitely prioritize over anything too fancy, though the fancy things are fun, but not totally necessary. So yeah, just continuing along the path, and my focus and my specialty is brain health and neuroscience, and kind of looking at how all of these different things, lifestyle, diet, exercise, relationships, mindset, toxins, how all of these things affect the brain specifically. So I'm super excited about that because the brain is kind of like the ocean. We've only explored, you know, maybe 2% of its capacity. And so there's a lot more there. And I aim to find out as much as I can and share it with all of you guys.
That's amazing. You're amazing. I always love talking to you. And I want to show you like one of the most powerful tools to overcome all this nonsense.
Yes. Petting your kitty.
This is my doggy. And then,
oh my gosh.
So I got
I don't
doggy
think my guy's around.
And kitty. So that's how you do it. That's how you do it. Is pet love. That's powerful. Yep. So,
I have Mike and Brian here, but they're old grumpy kitties, so they're not around.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I hope it was helpful for people. Yeah. I really want to kind of get people to calm down, to rationalize, and, you know, love each other, and, you know, we get through this together, not divided. So
and anybody who wants to reach out, I totally agree. You know, having conversations like this, reaching out to Shawn and I, if you have questions, or if you just want to chat, hang out, have a laugh, if you have a joke you want to share with us, they're always welcome. But yeah, let's keep our community strong, and let's stay informed, and let's stay calm and wellness on.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kayla. Thanks for joining late at night. I appreciate you, and thank you everyone for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for inviting me. It's always fun to talk to you.
All right. See ya.
Bye.